wait for your morsel of fun on the TV. It was like a big
Yeah.
deal, you know? So
Yeah.
it's a good thing. So speaking of powerhouses, you have a wonderful conglomeration of good going on for your clients and for what you're
That's how
doing.
we describe ourselves from now on. A wonderful
Yeah.
conglomeration of good. I like it.
That yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
true.
So good.
I love what you're doing and the whole thing completely makes sense to me. The
Mhm.
entertainment value, everything that goes into it, and you obviously are both very seasoned and good at what you do. So I'm
Mm.
curious, before we get into this union and how you guys came together, I got to know 4 years ago we were trying to figure this pandemic out. How are we going to
Yeah.
get through it? The ramifications. How did you two survive the time period? And how has it influenced the way that you live now?
Why don't you go first, Justin?
Yeah, for sure. So the pandemic for me was such a huge challenge because my business is a bodies in the room business, is the way I like to say it. You know, when you think about theater or Broadway, the commercials that I do, whatever it is, it's bodies in the room. And the fact that Broadway was shut down, the fact that like commercials like the one I did for Diet Dr. Pepper playing a little sweet, like that so many things got canceled that were the lifeblood of my business. And so what I had to do was completely change my mindset from a bodies in the room to a virtual setting. And so I got a little office, and I got down to business, and I started to try and gear everything towards how can I, during this time period where I can't have bodies in the room, create as many digital bodies in the room? How can I get in front of as many digital audiences as I can? So I did events where I would MC or host or sing and perform for events like the Bloomberg Foundation and PodX. I started speaking and for companies like Fiverr, and I just started taking the skills that I had on stage in performance, delivering a message, and using them in a virtual format. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, you've got to get this new app. It's called Clubhouse." And I was like, "Oh, please, another thing." Like it's like I've got all this other social media. I can barely stand it as it is. You want me to add another thing in? She's like, "You got to do it. It's amazing." And so I went on Clubhouse, and she did not let me down because it was awesome. When you got on Clubhouse, you could be in a room with some of the most high level, influential people that you would never get into, quote unquote, a room with. And so I was in this room, a bunch of high level marketers, and I had before then started my entrepreneurial journey, and COVID just kind of put that on turbo. It's like, we don't deal with things until they're on fire. Well, the whole house was on fire, so had I had to become a better marketer. I had to become a better entrepreneur. And so, in the process of doing that, I found myself in a high level marketing room where I was giving the advice from a performance standpoint and my own marketing standpoint that way. And in the same room was Kim Walsh Phillips. And so I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. She's got some really awesome things to say." And Kim reached out to me, invited me into one of her clubhouse rooms, and then said, "Hey, look, would you want to maybe like host and MC one of our events?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. That's what I do. It's what I've been doing. It's how I had supplemented the income that I had lost from the bodies in the room." And I hosted a live event that she did. It was called Launch Academy Live. And unlike every other gig that I've hosted, I started really listening to what was going on. And I was like, "Well, this is in alignment with this is amazing. Oh my goodness." And I started working in the workbook, and I started doing the exercises that she was taking these 300 people who had showed up digitally for her. I started doing the exercise, and I was like, "Yes, this makes sense. Oh my goodness, this is that missing piece that I was banging my head against the wall trying to find for before COVID, and then certainly in COVID." And then we started talking. I became her client, and then eventually we decided to put this business together. But I do want to, this is kind of like going to be like a Tarantino film, right? Where you go forward in time and then you go backward in time, because I've explained how we got to where we are today from my perspective. But I would love for Kim to be able to do it from hers.
I've been in business for a very long time. I had been in business for 20 years when the pandemic hit. And I'd sold one company already and started a coaching business. And we had actually bought a home that had a very large basement that became like our event center. And so I was doing these small boutique events, and we used this to grow my new business, to build this mastermind program that we had. And then the pandemic hit, and it's like, okay, that model's not going to work anymore. So had to take everything virtually, which is what landed me on Clubhouse, because I remembered the early days of Google where people could buy ads for a penny, and Facebook where you could buy and some of the biggest names in our industry are because they were around then and they could get leads for so inexpensively. So I'm like, I'm going all in on Clubhouse. And I actually enrolled my kids. I had a goal for them. If you give me 90 days, that all the time I'm going to be on this thing. Like, you walk in the room, I'm going to raise my hand. If you can't talk when we're in the car, you'll get quiet. They were fully engaged. You're going to get a golf cart. That was the goal. If I build my business to a certain number, because of Clubhouse, we're getting a golf cart, because they've always wanted one. We live in one of those, southern communities with the golf cart, and they did it. We now have a golf cart. I built my audience to 20,000 people in 90 days. We generated over $2 million in revenue from the app. But the best thing that came out of all of it was meeting Justin, because we were able to take our powers and combine them into not only growing each other's businesses, but using them in a way that has changed the lives of all of our coaching clients. Because I was already really good at the messaging and the marketing, and even a little bit of the performance, because I had a performance background. But there's so many speaking coaches out there, as you know. They're like, as soon as you start looking at one, your whole news feed is filled with them. But all of them are trying to show how they are a celebrity and how they are worthy. But now I met an actual celebrity, and not just somebody who has earned his place on the stage, but has stayed there for over 20 years and is a performance coach. That he literally not only has mentored people behind the scenes, but American Idol brought him back to be a mentor on the show because he's so good at it. And to have that opportunity to literally give access to a celebrity who's incredibly kind, very smart, incredibly talented, has moved the needle forward for my coaching clients like I never been able to do before. So it was incredible. Our business grew. We were able to keep all of my team and grow my company during that time. And our clients were able to not just survive, but thrive as well.
So you successfully grabbed the gold watch off of the kangaroo on the side table right there.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds really good.
It's the
Captain Kangaroo
Tarantino Pulp
reference?
Fiction thing.
Yeah, grab the gold
yes.
watch.
Sorry,
Yeah,
dude.
yes.
You got my mind swimming.
I love Pulp Fiction too, and I love Quentin Tarantino, so I didn't get it right away. But
Yeah. That was a Bruce Willis character. Yeah, for sure. And first of all, let me tell you, we were talking earlier about Kansas City and how it relates to Philadelphia in the sense of that it is a blue collar town, unabashedly. So I'm in Philly and grew up a lot in Philly. And Kim grew up on Long Island. We are, Northeast people, no BS. And the fact that Kim said all of those wonderful things about me, I'm going to take the audio from this podcast and I'm just going to play it at different points, because the thing that you don't know about Kim is that she loves to make fun of me. And she loves to be super snarky to me. So the fact that she was saying all those wonderful things about me is outstanding, first of all. And
you put a monkey at a typewriter for infinity, you're going to get the Great American Novel. So
let me tell you.
I'm out.
So, and the point of me saying all that is that our dynamic and why we instantly connected on Clubhouse, why we have so much fun doing what we do, is because we don't take ourselves too seriously. We are very serious about our craft, but we pride ourselves on not only teaching and helping our clients discover how to entertain their audiences and how to deliver a message that resonates in the 2024 sort of social media, you gotta keep them engaged sort of way. But we also make the experience of learning and discovering all that really fun. Like, we pride ourselves on having a great time, and we love attracting people who want to have a good time actually being in their business, want to have a good time discovering how they can scale their business, and so they can pass on that entertainment and education and information onto their clients.
Mhm.
The one thing that you two know intimately is that in entertainment and otherwise, there's these moments that you grow. It can be tough and then
Yeah.
it's savory at the end. What has been that client for you together working in this venture that just absolutely made you grow in almost a hyperspace realm or something that was monumental in your development as a union in this company?
I think it was going on Below Deck. That's really,
Yeah.
that made a huge change. So I was recruited to be on Bravo's show Below Deck. And I'd only been working with Justin for a few months, but I know a thing or two about television, and bringing a celebrity with me on that show was going to be a good move. Plus, he's a lot
Right.
of fun and is great energy. So, like, it was all those elements. So, we were together at another event. We started having him MC all of our events when I got the inquiry. And I said, okay, do you want to do this? He's like, I don't know what the show is, but okay, well, maybe,
And
perhaps,
also, I might have had a dance or two with reality TV, so I was like,
perhaps, perhaps there might be
right,
a move. So
yeah,
we went on the show, and for someone listening who isn't familiar with it, you're basically, we were we were the primaries. We were the people renting a yacht for 3 days, and the crew is working with us. And while we were on the boat, we started working with the crew about developing their message. What is their purpose?
yeah,
We actually did a dinner where they were sat with us. We were the first guests who had ever done this, which got us the voting of being the nicest guest of all time at Below Deck. Thank you very much. But also, we started working with them, and a producer actually came to me on the boat and said, you guys have something here. I've never seen this before. This is magical. We ended up getting Captain Glenn Shepard from Below Deck as a client. He wanted to work with us. Now, Justin and I had never done this work together before,
yeah,
but it just happened organically in this moment. And so, as we're traveling back to the United States, we're coming through immigration through via Canada back to the US. We just got to talking. What if we did something with this? What if we turn this into coaching we could do for our clients? So it came from being in a bizarre circumstance. Like, how would we ever know we'd be on filming a reality show together in the middle of the
yeah,
Italian seas, to making an impact on others? And when you start a business partnership from real time impact, like, I'm getting emotional even thinking about it. Like, what a beautiful way to start a company together,
Mhm.
but by literally working with each other to impact other people's lives, and in real time seeing the power of what you can do together. It was, to me, divine that it happened in that way. So we get to see how we each can work with one another to lift other people up. And it was amazing.
So the foundation of what you do is you're teaching people to entertain. But in your timeline, you had to have seen something early on that really moved you, that made you either want to entertain, get on stage. What was that moment as a child or early on in your life? What was the concert?
yeah.
What was the moment that transported you there?
Have you been reading my bio? You got it. Yeah, there is a concert for me. There was certainly a moment. It was 1984. I was 6 years old. It was the Jacksons Victory Tour, and it was the Jackson Five as adults got back together and they toured around the country, around the world actually. And so I was six. I was in Atlanta. My dad was I think he was a major in the Atlanta police force. He would then go on to be chief many years later. But at that moment, I was there in the concert. I remember looking up at the stage, and it was an Atlanta night. It was sweaty and nobody cared. Everybody was packed in. The lights, the smoke, the costumes, the choreography, the way the bass and the kick drum rattled the back of my teeth. And I just had this moment where I pointed up to the stage and I said to no one in particular other than myself, I want to do that. At
Wow.
six, I just said, I want to do that. It just made perfect sense to be up there. And then a few years later, 1984, then in 2022, 2002 rather, after being in school plays, after taking dance classes and voice lessons and doing all the things, I found myself on the show called American Idol. Went through that whole process, got to the finale, ended up touring around the country. And the moment that really brought it full circle for me was I was looking up at this rectangle cut out into the ceiling as I was coming up on an elevator, and there was ground effects smoke coming in. And as my eye level got past the level of the stage, 30,000 people started screaming. And I started singing my song because I was on tour and we were, 30,000 people a night. And I recognized in that moment, oh my goodness, that this 22-year-old is living the dream that 6-year-old wanted to live, because I'm now up there on that stage doing that. But the best part of it is I hope that somebody in the audience saw me and pointed to me and said, I want to do that.
Wow.
Right? That's the legacy. And I'll never know those stories, most likely. However, that's the beauty of why I do what I do. And I always remember that story because I know that no matter how many Broadway shows I've been in, no matter how many stages I get on, whatever, that there's always someone out there in the audience who is seeing their first Broadway show. There's always someone out there who is seeing me, or maybe coming to their first
And
conference
you
or
cannot
whatever.
say you don't know, because I have been with him multiple times where he has been stopped, where somebody will tell him because of him, they went on to live their dream. We were literally stopped in New York City by a performer who told him because he saw Justin, it gave him permission to go after his dream. And he's been in a very long running Broadway show because of
Yeah.
it. And this happens all the time, all the time.
Yeah. Well,
You're
thank
incredibly
you.
humble, and but yes,
Thank you. I
you
hope so.
it's
Yeah.
the
I appreciate
impact
that.
he makes on the lives of people to give them that belief is incredible.
Undoubtedly.
And that's the power. That's the power of doing what it is that we do when we either you get up on this podcast here, or we get up on a stage, or we just help someone discover, just to have a light bulb moment when it comes to speaking and entertaining from the stage.
Kim, what was that for you? What was the moment?
I have always been what you call an attention whore since the very beginning of time. So I was always in plays and theater when I was a kid. I minored in theater in college. I just never connected it with a career. Like, that was never my viewpoint. That was never a goal. I just loved it. I loved performing. I loved making people feel and move. And I also happened to be on base, it's called forensics, but it's like the speech team. And I would travel around the country winning these competitions when I created these speeches I would get. But I never connected it with a career. But I always knew the power of commanding an audience. And when I say attention, like, so that I can make an audience feel, think, or do something different that makes their life better after they leave my presence. Like, that was always my strength and my desire. And I've always had some type of performance in my life at all times. And it was in 2001 when I started my company that I used speaking as the way to grow it from the very beginning. I would put on these little tiny workshops at our local library as a way to bring in clients. And I had always used talking as a way to bring people in a mass setting. And first, because I was around since before the social media, it was always that way. And then I took the message to social media once that was growing. And then eventually I learned how to actually make offers from the stage. So I could bring people in and entertain them, engage them, inspire them, and I could do it as a way to grow my business. And that's when I truly got hooked. And I started using that as a way to grow my first company from a place of struggling. I hawked my engagement ring to make payroll one time, to growing it big enough that I could actually sell it at a really big exit, to launching my second company to show people how we did what we did. And now Justin and I have the privilege of getting people to use entertainment as a way to grow their impact and their income. That it's not just for the sake of performing or inspiring, it's for the sake of actually creating massive impact, which cannot happen unless there's ROI involved.
Wow. Justin, I got to say, I went to Arrowhead when I was a kid, and that's my same experience. I saw the five. When Michael's glove came up out of the middle of that stage, it was Beatlemania.
Wow.
There were girls fainting.
That,
The
it's crazy.
sequins on that glove and the light that pulsed into our eyeballs, it was like, I can't believe I'm seeing this. It was amazing.
Yeah. But it was all designed to create that effect.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
didn't happen by accident.
right.
Mm.
And when we're able to take those and because it's all formulaic.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
stage magic and elements. And when you're able to do what Kim is able to do, which is get that perfect message. Speak to people as though you're reading their minds,
Mhm.
right? Drill down on who your exact right fit client is with that right fit messaging. And then couple that with stagecraft, which a lot of people, just because you're not taught it in school, both the messaging and the stagecraft, like people just don't know what they don't know. But when
Yeah.
you can tailor your performance, which I like to think of it as, that way, I mean, you can create such a dynamic
Mhm.
experience for your audience and separate yourself from 99.9% of the other speakers who get up on the stage.
Mhm.
So each of you respectively come together with your own existences to make this venture work. So I
Mhm.
gotta I gotta ask you, at the end of the day, everyone has a perspective. They have this idea of who they think you are. Family, friends, fans,
Mhm.
clients, but you run the show. What's your perspective, your idea of who you think you are?
You wanna say
Wow.
individually who we are?
Yeah,
Uh,
individually
Oh,
and then combined. Yeah.
do you know what? And that's a really great question, Joe, because we literally walk people through this before they create their talk. We call
Okay.
this the attractive attributes. You want to decide who you are to get that message out to the world. That's really important. So, and you're going to find we mentioned a bunch of these while we were sharing this with you because we intentionally talk about it. So we attract and repel people meaningfully. So,
yeah,
like, if somebody's just super analytical or very data driven, they typically we can do well with them if they're cool with having a good time. If they're like, just get to the point, they're actually not going to like spending any time with us because
yeah,
we want to have fun and
Yeah.
that's going to
yeah,
be part of our vibe. So, that's one
yeah,
of my things is like, I'm going to be playful, silly, joking around all the time. That's one of my attractive attributes. Another one is that in God I trust when I else bring data. I'm very data driven, ROI based, no BS. I'm going
yeah,
to tell you what I'm thinking at all times. And that I have the belief that I'm going to work really hard and I'm also going to spend a lot of time having fun. That both things can exist and should. You can have an empire business and a lifestyle business, and they're the same company. And that we should give ourselves permission to have that. So that's who I perceive myself to be.
Excellent.
yeah. And I perceive myself to be, and when we do this attractive attributes exercise, because just of the way I was raised and who I am, I hate saying this one, so I'm just going to say it first. There is like, I want to come across as being sexy. Ugh, I hate it. It's so gross. But like, it is part of what works for my brand, right? It's
And
not
I'll
what
pimp
I
you
lead
out
with.
anytime I can. I'll pimp
Oh
that
God, she does pimp me out. My God,
anytime I
does she ever
can.
pimp me out for that? It's so true. But the whole point being that, like, fun, funny. I am a performer, right? I love being a dad. I want to be seen as attractive, as sexy, but also a mentor and a coach. Those are the attractive attributes. So those are like the guiding, I don't want to say guiding principles, but like those are like sort of North Stars that we always go towards. So everything that we do, whether it's interviews or blogs or the stuff on the website or social media, is all going to have that in there because that's what we want people to see. Now, when we come together, uh, it's just a blend of those two things. There are so many things where we overlap, and yet they're fun, funny things where, one of the attributes for Kim is that she is expensive and worth it. And it's very true. Like, it's amazing. And yet there is this thing where when we get together, she'll like make fun of me and be snarky, and it's really fun. So we just have this really great sort of back and forth where we both are fun, we're both funny. And yet when we get down to business,
Mhm.
when we get down to business, there is a magic that happens every single time. And every single time we're on the stage, I set the bar high because oftentimes we'll do a workshop and someone will ask people, hey, how do you describe your perfect right fit client? Who are they? And how do you describe their problem? And they'll say, well, I work with CEOs who are having a very difficult time, blah, 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 and whatever the problem is. And then watching Kim take that information in, assimilate it, and then within moments put back out something that is so much more relevant, concise, and makes it really truly drills down to what the actual problem is from the perspective of the person who has the problem is magic. And then when we have somebody come up on a stage and talk about it, watching the two of us then just make tiny tweaks to how they might be standing, how they might be using their facial expression or their body expression or their vocal expression. That's magic. So when we come together, there is that magic sauce where we just love to very quickly help people to go from being good to being outstanding and creating an experience with just a few sentences even on the stage. And so I don't know, that's our magic when we come
Yeah.
together.
Well, speaking of magic, we get off this call, time machine pulls up. You guys can go and see one show in the annals of show business, concerts, a Broadway show. Where are you going?
The Greatest Showman as soon as it comes out on Broadway. Done.
That's a
Coming out.
teaser shot. Yeah, no, you know what I do? I'm kind of torn. I might go back to Ella in Paris or something Louis. I love that early 20th century jazz. So maybe go see Louis Armstrong live, one of those cats for
That
sure.
would be stellar for sure. So let's get to the good business. If anyone wants to reach out, hire you, learn more about what you're doing, your wonderful work, where do they go?
Yeah, we would love to have them go to speakandgrowrichworkshop.com. That's speakandgrowrichworkshop.com. Justin and I actually run a weekly free masterclass where we walk people through how to come up with that message that will get them on the stage and attract the right fit client. We do live coaching during the call. They can raise their hand, we'll work with them, and then we performance coach them as to how to tweak just little tiny moves that take them from where they are now to being an elite, highly paid keynote speaker. And we run that call weekly. We'd love folks to join us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming together and talking about this. It's such a wonderful concept. Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Oh, it's been so fun with you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And hey, good luck to your Eagles, man. I mean it.
I have no doubt we're going to see your Chiefs somewhere down the line.
Oh yeah, we're gonna meet
so
up
good
again.
luck to them too.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.